So the animals that were created as scavengers and rubbish bins have precisely the same physiology now as they had then. As we said earlier, the animals and the birds and the fish and everything were just to eat the things that grew out of the ground. But since the fall, everything was given a different assignment. And we had weeds and thorns and thistles and unproductive land and all this sort of thing. But the point I'm making is that the physiology of all the animals has been the same all the way through, from Genesis 1 right through to today. So let's look at Acts chapter 10. It says there in verse 34, "Then Peter opened his mouth and said, 'Of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons.'" You see, Peter was now confronted with something which was against everything he knew, everything he grew up with, everything that he believed. And God gave him something more powerful than words. He gave him a vision to convey the power and force of the message that he wanted to get through to him. And the message was that you cannot treat non-Jews as subhuman. Sadly today, the people running Palestine and running the United States and Britain and many of the European and African nations, we can't leave them out, treat others as subhuman. So Peter was being called to do something he had never done in order to make a very strong point to him. It says in Acts 10:13, "And there came a voice unto him, having risen, Peter, slay and eat." And verse 14, "And Peter said, Not so, Lord, because at no time did I eat anything common or unclean." Well, he probably didn't even touch it, much less kill it, and worse, eat it. Well, his whole religious world was being torn upside down. But the Apostle Peter's words explain clearly that this was a matter of race and had nothing to do with food. Acts 10:28, "And he said unto them, Ye know," this is Peter, "ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company, or come unto one of another nation." See, Peter is saying, we don't even keep company with them. We won't even talk to them. "But God hath showed me that I should not call any man," that's what it says, "any man common or unclean." But we have got most of the churches telling us that, you can eat anything now. If it moves, eat it. It doesn't matter what it is. If you can manage to get it in your mouth, eat it. And so we do. You see, the life of a Christian is more than going to church and feeling good. We have got a set of things to do that God has called us to do. So God has to give us the instructions so that we would know. In Genesis 7, that's where we come across clean and unclean animals. The general thought is that only a couple of each animal went into the ark, just pairs. And you look at the movies, which of course we can believe because they are our teachers. There would be 2 giraffes and 2 lions and 2 sheep and 2 chickens and 2 whatever. But that's not what the Bible says. Genesis 7:1, "And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation." Genesis 7 verse 2, of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. You know, what follows is not a list of clean and unclean animals. So this means that Noah already was fully aware of what was clean and unclean. So God just had to make the general division. Look, the clean animals in sevens, the unclean in twos. So I think we will have to go and rewrite all those Hollywood movies. I'm sure they will appreciate me doing this. In Genesis 7:8, of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of everything that creepeth upon the earth, there went in 2 and 2 unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as God had commanded Noah. So it's just confirming what it says. I missed out the middle verses, but there you can see that just what God says: clean beasts in sevens, unclean beasts and birds in twos. And this is many hundreds of years before the book of Leviticus, with Moses receiving the law on Mount Sinai. After the flood, we are told in Genesis 8:20, and Noah builded an ark unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. So he had 7 of the unclean ones. So he could take 1, and they'll have 3 pairs. Well, it's just as well that there were more than 2 clean animals and clean birds, isn't it? Otherwise they'll all be extinct. But Noah gave an offering of thanksgiving. You see, God has to explain, as I said before, He has to explain everything to us. He commands His people to keep the Sabbath. He commands His people to keep the Passover. We are right in the midst of the Passover week at this time that we're making this video. This is 2008. This is Wednesday evening. But the Eternal also makes a clear distinction between His people and those who are not His, between His words and those that are not His, between the clean and the unclean, between the righteous and the unrighteous. This has always been the case. And you will see in Revelation that it is only the righteous who will have a part in the New Jerusalem. The unrighteous will not. Inside the city, in Revelation 22:14, it says, "Blessed are they that do His commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For outside the city," in verse 15, "for without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.